What's going on, y'all? How are y'all feeling today? Today, I want to talk to y'all about priorities. Priorities. Okay. There's a quote I want to give you before we kick this thing off, right? There's this movie called I Think I Love My Wife. Chris Rock plays in this movie. The quote I want to highlight from that movie is this: you can lose a lot of women chasing money, but you'll never lose women. No, you can lose a lot of money chasing women, but you'll never lose women chasing money. When you look at that statement, what it's really saying is when you get your priorities in order, everything else will follow. Everything else will come to you. Everything else will be attracted. Everything else, you know what I mean, will fall into place. Our young gentlemen are led to believe that in this day and age, in order for them to have a quote unquote quality woman, they need to be making six figures off the rip, 100,000 or better. So you in turn, you condition yourself to believe that that's the case. All in all, when you see NBA players getting cheated on, when you see these super big content creators, you know what I mean, dealing with infidelity issues, nobody's excluded. So it don't matter how much material or how much, how much more resources you have than other people. None of that truly matters if you have your priorities in order. See, when you take care of business first, on the front end, you ain't got to worry about covering excess expenses because you already took care of those. You already took care of those. What I'm talking about is when you write a check that your ass can't cash. You wanna take a woman to a 5-star restaurant on a McDonald's paycheck. Priorities. That's hustling backwards. That's ass backwards. You losing money, and you doing it all to impress somebody that probably really don't even care about you. That's just one thing when we talking about priorities, right? Me going to work every day, I go to work every day because I need to earn a living to be able to support a lifestyle. That lifestyle is having a car, having food to eat, having a nice warm bed to sleep in. So I take care of the priorities, the things that I need to take care of first, so that at the end of the day, I have something to eat. At the end of the day, I can go to and fro, hither and thither, to get to where I need to be. Why? Because I took care of my priorities. Everything that we see before us, it's possible for us to obtain it. Right? You look outside your window, you look outside your door, you walk outside, all of the things that you see before you that are obtainable, you also can obtain them. But in order to obtain those things, you have to understand the amount of service the amount of effort, work, or even sales it took to acquire what it is that you're admiring. You want a Range Rover, you want a Bugatti, you want luxury sport car, you know what I mean? You can obtain these things, albeit it's going to take you a longer time than someone who has mountains of wealth, you know what I mean? But you can obtain it. You may not get the year to date model, but you can get the brand. You can get it, right? A lot of the young guys I see on the internet today, they want to take the easy way out. They want to scam their way to the Hellcat. You know what I mean? They want to rob their way to the Bugatti. You know what I'm saying? They want to sell drugs to get to that McLaren. Right? Everybody got their own way. But what you need to do before you start taking steps to get to the things you want, you need to prioritize what you need to do step by step to get there. What I need to do first, what I need to do next, what comes after that. And once I've done all that, then what am I supposed to do? A, B, C, D. It ain't an A to Z process. You don't just jump from the first step to the last step. Incrementally, you get there, right? Your priorities may be on school. You want to get the highest possible GPA that you can get. In order to do that, you need to put your studies, your understanding, and your homework first. That needs to be your priorities. I'm not going to say you need to switch your studies with food in terms of priorities, because if you do that, you might end up perishing. You might end up passing away because you just sat at your desk for 48 to 60 hours just studying and never eating. Of course, that's not really realistic, but there are people who died at internet cafes because they just kept playing the game for hours and hours on end. So what I'm saying is, it's possible that if you put your priorities out of order, you can find yourself in a situation, or you can find yourself in the grave because you didn't think that your necessities were important. The things that you need to survive were important. So when you put things that are not necessary or are not needed in the place of things that are, you end up in a state of confusion. You end up in a bad situation. You end up with problems that are harder and harder to get out of. Right? Having your priorities in order makes it easier to make progress. Having your ideas written down can also help you visualize and remember your priorities if it's difficult for you to realize what you need to do first to in order to be able to do what you really want to do on the back end. Now, everything that I'm saying here isn't all that profound. It's just concrete knowledge or basic things that I want to remind you of, or I want you to keep in mind and remember that I need to have my priorities in order so I don't end up in a situation where I'm scrambling and scraping, or my want is like that of an armed man. Right? There's this phrase that I really like. There's a YouTuber named Mr. Keep It Simple. And he always says, stay focused before you end up homeless. Right? And that's basically what I'm saying. If you don't have your priorities in the right place, You may wake up in a situation where you're being evicted or your car is being repossessed because you didn't focus on your priorities. You didn't focus on what is needed. You didn't take care of your responsibilities. So now you're in a situation where life is 10 times harder for you because you just couldn't focus on the task at hand. You couldn't focus on what matters the most. And when you're easily distracted and you can't focus on what matters, you're gonna always end up in a bad situation where you make things harder for yourself. So if you don't like when things are difficult, if you don't like when things are frustrating, when you don't like when things really get outside of your control, you need to sit down and really think about it. You may even want to get a piece of paper and start writing your ideas and your thoughts down. You know what I mean? Because you may not feel the same way tomorrow that you do about something today. You may learn something later on today that makes you realize, you know what? I don't really know if that's actually good for me. I don't really know if me wanting to do X, Y, and Z is in my best interest. Now, I don't really feel like I need to give you an example because you probably lived those decisions already. You probably already made a decision, right, that you weren't really sure of. Like maybe somebody tried to sell you something and, you ain't really want to tell them no because they made it sound so good, or they just wouldn't take no for an answer. And you buy something you really didn't want. You're like, man, fuck, well, I don't want this. I don't know why. I was just trying to help him out or help that person out or whatever. You know what I mean? Nobody says that you have to be a nice person. You know what I mean? You don't even really have to be a good person. What you need to be is a thoughtful and a serious person. You should take yourself serious, right? Now, I might laugh and joke and goof around from time to time, but ultimately, I take myself serious. And it may not seem like it, may not appear like it, but trust me, I take myself very serious. That's why I'm alive today. There's a lot of people who were born in the same year that I was that are not here today, and even after. You know what I mean? I prioritized my survival over anything else. Some people, they put pleasure and desire in that top spot. You know what I mean? Some people have already given up on life and they're no longer concerned with survival. They just want to have a good time. You know what I mean? Because we're all guaranteed to leave this place one day. So while we're here, we need to prioritize what's most important to us. Now, the things that are important to you may not be important to everybody else. The things that you prioritize may seem stupid to other people. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. As long as you remember what it is that you want out of life and what you want to see for yourself. As long as you are certain without a shadow of a doubt in what you want, and you don't allow anybody to influence you or sway you this way or that, if you can just focus long enough, don't let the distractions take a hold of you. Yeah, she got a nice body, but don't let that take you off of your focus. Yeah, you see them scammers over there getting big money, but don't let that take you off of your focus. You know what I mean? Yeah, they look like they over there having a lot of fun, skipping class, you know what I mean, partying, being reckless. Yeah, it looked like a whole bunch of fun, but what you don't see is those are the same people that's going to be behind bars, in the grave, or just in a messed up situation for the rest of their life. You gotta see ahead. You gotta be able to foresee what's to come when you prioritize your wants, your desires over your needs, right? In this civilization, we need finances, we need resources, we need money, right? That's what this system is built and based off of. When you constantly put put off your responsibilities, all you're doing is upping the difficulty of your survival. Think about that. Every day you wake up and you don't do what you need or are supposed to do, you're just slowly cranking up the difficulty setting. If you've ever played video games and you played on easy mode as well as the most difficult mode, you clearly see a difference in terms of how mentally, physically, spiritually taxing trying to accomplish simple tasks in video games can be when the enemies hit a little bit harder. You know, when the terrain, you know what I mean, is slightly, has less friction, so you're slipping and sliding more on the platforms and stuff. You ever play certain like platform games where you're walking on solid ground, then you get onto some ice, and then your momentum just carries more and more. You might fall off the cliff. That's what I'm talking about, right? Sometimes we need to prioritize our rest. Sometimes we need to prioritize taking our time. You can rush yourself into losing all of your progress. So sometimes you need to just sit still, contemplate, plot a course of action. What do I need to do first? Okay, after I complete that, what should I do next? After that's done, what's the next step? You know what I mean? Also, I want to highlight the importance of homework and study. And I'm not really talking in the sense of the assignment that the teacher gives you before, you go home. I'm talking about taking your own time to better understand or to learn more about things that you're interested in. The more you understand something or the more you learn about something, the easier it is to execute, to create it, to do it, to achieve it, right? So before I finish this video, I want you to keep in mind, what is the priority? What is the most important thing, right? And then work from that forward. Start with the most important thing first. And to be honest, where you sit right now, you may not even know what the most important thing is. But if you do a little research, a little homework, you talk to a few people, you look up a few articles, you Google a few things, watch a few YouTube videos on the subject, you'll slowly begin to see what's the most important thing that you need to do first, right? So, get your priorities in order, get your life in order, right? I believe it's truly that simple. If you can get your priorities in order and take care of those first, then you can do all your wants. Then you can do all your desires, your endeavors, your extracurricular activities. Right? Take care of the priorities first. So moving forward, you can have all the things that you want and need. Because I think it's really messed up to have all the things that you want, but none of the things that you need. And before I go, I'm gonna leave you with one quote, so you don't go too far in the opposite direction. Some people are so poor that all they have is money. Might have went over your head, but just think about it. Professor Hawk signing out. Class dismissed.